Hello, BookTube. I have mail. I have Wednesday mail. It looks like it's all from publishers, although there's an envelope with a box on the inside at the end. I don't know. I don't know that I remember any publishers sending a boxed book inside an envelope. So that might be something else. It might be something from one of you. We're going to have a talk about that. Don't you worry. But the first three seem to me to be from publishers. I have a suspicion that perhaps publisher mail is just going to keep increasing, which would be great. That would be fantastic, because this is like the second day in the last 4 where I've received multiple packages from publishers. That would be wonderful. I would love that. So let's see what this first one is. No manila envelopes, but okay. All right. This is something that we've already seen. This looks like a finished copy. Is that true? No pub sheet. Okay, so nobody's in their offices. But this looks like a finished copy. Something we've already seen. This is by Marissa Galvez, and this is The Subject of Crusade, Lyric, Romance, and Materials, 1150 to 1500. And a lot of you will know. A lot of you will know what I said the first time I showed this to you. Oh, that glare is terrible, isn't it? Oh my. Let's see if we can get rid of that. That's a little better. The first time I got this, maybe it was an advanced copy. I don't know. I immediately thought of my fellow OBGB member, Jason Harrigan at Byways in Brooklyn, who is a Crusades wonk. He has a whole wall of books on the Crusades. This seemed like something that should go to him, not me. Let me tell you a little about it. For those of you who maybe there are almost 100 of you that weren't here the last time. So this is in the Middle Ages. Religious crusaders took up arms, prayed, bade farewell to their families, and marched off to fight in holy wars. These Christian soldiers also recorded their lives through lyric poetry, putting words to their personal sacrifice and pious struggle. The Crusaders affirmed their commitment to fighting to claim a distant land while revealing their feelings as they left behind their loved ones and homes. Their poems and visual works offer us insight into the Crusaders' lives and values at the boundary of earthly and spiritual duties, body and soul, holy devotion, and courtly love. In The Subject of Crusade, the author offers a nuanced view of holy war and crusade poetry. By placing these lyric works into a wider conversation with religion and culture, including chronicles, knightly handbooks, artwork, and confessional and pastoral texts, the author identifies a particular crusader idiom that emerged out of the conflict between pious and earthly duties. And that's what this book is about. If this is a finished copy, then maybe this is the University of Chicago Press. Maybe they're actually coming out with it in June. That'd be interesting. And in normal circumstances, if I didn't feel so leery of the post office, I might put this in the mail to Jason. He's definitely going to want it. He's gonna make more sense about it than I would. But anyway, that's a double. So let's just move on to this next one. I wonder if all of these are just going to come with no pub sheets because the publicists aren't there in the office to tip them in. Oh, okay. No, this one has one. Great. This one has one. Okay, this is. Wow. Okay. This says it's not a finished copy, but this is beautiful. I would perfectly take this as a finished copy. Okay, this is going to be a hardcover, $27 hardcover in mid-September. Could be that will happen. This is from Bloomsbury, and this is Susanna Clark's book, Piranesi. Lovely gold-leafed thing there with French flaps. Just lovely. And this is the author of Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. That book will need no introduction from me. Here, let me hold this so that you can see the cover. Look at that, how pretty that is. Let's see here. Susanna Clark's Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell is one of the most beloved fantasy novels of the 21st century, introducing readers to a richly textured world where Jane Austen-style society drama lived side by side with magic. The 2004 novel took the world by storm. It became a New York Times bestseller, Booker Prize nominee, Hugo Award-winning sensation. The novel spawned a limited TV series adaptation in 2015 and has sold more than 4 million copies. And unlike so many books about that became a meteoric success like that, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell is actually worth it. It's really, really good. It's one of those books. Let's see here. 16 years after readers were introduced to the magical world of that book, Susanna Clark is publishing another novel. Piranesi's house is no ordinary building. Its rooms are infinite, its corridors endless, its walls are lined with thousands upon thousands of statues, each one different from all the others. Within the labyrinth of halls, an ocean is imprisoned. Waves thunder up staircases, rooms are flooded in an instant. But Piranesi is not afraid. He understands the tides as he understands the pattern of the labyrinth itself. He lives to explore the house. There is one other person in the house, a man called the Other, who visits Piranesi twice a week and asks for help with research into a great and secret knowledge. Piranesi explores records his findings. Piranesi explores. Okay. All right. Well, the book won't have grammatical and rhetorical slips like this, I'm sure. Let's just take out the word explores. Piranesi records his findings in a journal. But as messages appear on pavements, evidence emerges from another person, not at all what it seems. A terrible truth begins to unravel, revealing a world beyond the one Piranesi has always known. So this is the pub sheet is talking about coverage for this thing in September. So it looks like the publisher might be serious that this might be coming out in mid-September. Fantastic. Well, I have mentioned on this channel many times the way that an author can build up goodwill with a reader, and you don't get much more goodwill than Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. This author has waited a very long time to publish another book. That is going to be a large part of the press that accompanies this thing. I always find that quite a shame, especially if the book is really good. What if this book is really good and all that anybody can talk about is that it's been almost 20 years since the author wrote something? That would be a little unfair. We shall see. I'm of course incredibly curious to know what the author has been thinking about all this time, but I'm not going to read the book right away. I have lots of summer stuff in between, so I will let it wait. Then we have this third package, also from a publisher. Let's see what we have here. Okay, this is from Oxford University Press, and it has a pub sheet. Great, fantastic. The date on this is November, and it's possible that Oxford will do that they will bring it out in November. This is by Peter Stothard, and it is The Last Assassin, The Hunt for the Killers of Julius Caesar. Skinny thing. But you can tell right from the title what the subject is, because Octavian didn't want regicides, essentially, in all but name, to go unpunished, and no one ever does. That's a story that gets swept under the rug a lot of the time. But Charles II ruthlessly hunted down the killers of his father. But anyway, let's see what we have here. In the 14 years following Julius Caesar's infamous assassination, his successor and adopted son Octavian made it his mission to avenge his father. Octavian, who would eventually become the Emperor Augustus, was determined to exact vengeance on each and every one of his father's killers. As many as 80 of them, who killed both for political and personal reasons. Among their number was the little-known Cassius Parmensius, who proved the most elusive. I wonder if this is going to be about Parmensis. I wonder if the book is going to focus on him. How much can we possibly know? Well, anyway, in this book, the author, a former editor of the Times and the Times Literary Supplement, recounts the life of Cassius Parmensis. Okay, who played a back row part in Caesar's death, and watched and waited for 14 years as his fellow plotters were tracked down one by one. His execution in Athens in 30 BC was the last act of a long vengeance. Wow, so I guess Peter Stothard has found stuff about Cassius of Parma. Let's see here. Cassius Parmensis was a poet and a playwright whose work is rumored to have been stolen by the man who sent to kill him. He was a sailor in the Roman Navy who had the bad luck to choose every side in the dying Republic's civil wars except the winning one. Unlike Marcus Brutus and Gaius Cassius, both immortalized by Shakespeare, Cassius Parmensis has remained a mere footnote in history books until now. I'm thinking he's staying a footnote. In this thrilling and enigmatic account, which spans one of the most dramatic and influential periods in Western history, the author recounts how each assassin died by execution, under torture, in bitter legal persecution, on battlefields across the Roman world, leading up to Octavian's final act of retribution, which is poor Cassius. He's the last one to go. This book dazzlingly charts an epic turn of history through the eyes of an unheralded man. Okay. All right. I gotta know. I wonder if I can easily find it. I gotta know why why Peter Stothard would even think about writing about. Oh wow! Oh my! Oh, this is wow. This is closer to a bound galley than a finished book. Okay, well they could still do it. They could still do it in time. They could still do it in time. Boy, this is not what the book is going to look like though at all. Okay, so what are you going to do? Are you going to tell Cassius's story, or are you going to tell the story of all? Okay, yeah, you're going to tell the story of all of these people, but you're going to keep coming back to Cassius. I can live with that, absolutely. What? Okay, well, I don't see I don't see a forward in any way, but we do have a bit on sources. Trebonius was the first assassin to die, Cassius Parma the last. The historian who first outlined the last assassin so crispy was Valerius Paterculus, who's a really good source on Tiberius. Okay. He's not as well known. There's never been a popular edition, never an Oxford, never a Penguin of Paterculus, but he is very interesting and not entirely untrustworthy. Especially when he has no reason not to be, and with a minor figure like this, he probably doesn't. He wrote a short history of Rome in his spare time from fighting Parthians and Gauls. He was born only a decade after Parmensis' death, close enough to know from contemporaries what had happened. His grandfather, a friend of Brutus, had killed himself after the destruction of Perugia. He was damned by faint praise of posterity, and even in his own time, for squeezing the maximum period of years into the smallest possible space. Okay, well, I have used Paterculus myself as a source when reading between the lines about Tiberius. So that's great. This will all depend on Peter Stothard's ability to do that, to read between the lines, to weigh the evidence. And he is the author of Alexandria, The Last Night of Cleopatra, On the Spartacus Road, 30 Days, an inside account of Tony Blair at War, and The Senecans, 4 Men and Margaret Thatcher. So it looks like he splits his attention between modern history in the making and ancient history. This is a very preliminary thing. So it's slated for November of 2020. I'm going to guess that it's still going to make that date. It's going to be weird to read it like this. I can't really describe what I'm talking about, but this is not the finish. This is not a usual Oxford Advanced copy. This is a little bit more preliminary than that. But it will give me an idea of what Stothard's going to do with his sources. Paterculus won't be the only person that he consults, I'm sure. And it'll be interesting to see, is he following up the fates of all the assassins here, some more briefly than others, and touchstoning this one person, or is he mainly concentrating on this one person? That I'll be fascinating either way to see. And then we have this this box. It's a box inside an envelope, so I don't know if it's a book. That is junk. All right, well, let's find out what this is. We'll find out together. That's what the whole fun of opening the mail is. That's why I've always enjoyed this for years, because I no longer open my mail alone, which is so much fun. It's so much fun that you allow me to do this. That we just do this together. We look at my mail together. Let's see. Oh, this is packed really well. This could be from one of you. Now, baby, you can't have this because it's all plastic. Okay? You can't have this because it's all plastic. Here, come and see your fans. Oh. Who are those people? She had packages hitting the floor, so she came over here right away to see what they are. Okay, this is a box. Oh no, this is rattling. Oh, I bet I know what this is. Oh, it is. Okay. I should. Some of you have taken me to task for this privately because I leave my email on every video. Remind me again why I do that if you're going to yell at me. Some of you have taken me to task for this. You are quite correct. If you have been watching this channel and you have noticed that I have a little bit of a penchant for technology, for ordering technology, well, you would be right. You would be right. I do. And I found a great price on a device that I've never had before, which is an iPad mini. I don't think I have my iPad in here. No, I don't. I can't believe I'm this far away from my iPad, but I am. I don't have it in here with me, but I love it. And this is the smaller version, which I've never tried. I don't know what it's like. I don't know what the experience is like. Is it too small? It's just the right size for reading. You can hold it in one hand, unlike the full-size iPad. If you want to hold it in one hand, you have to use the bezel. But because you can hold this in one hand, the bezels are much thinner. So you get more screen real estate. I wonder if that will compensate for the size. I'm interested. I got the iPad Mini, and I think I ordered this on eBay. So this is third-party, refurbished, no warranty or anything like that. Standard USB cord and a block charger. So I will charge this up and see what we can see whether or not what I like. I'll play around with my iPad Mini today. How fun! Oh, it's always fun when you get technology in the mail. So, and I admit, before you get on me, I admit that I buy too much technology. I remember a time when Olive from a book Olive and her husband came to visit here at Hyde Cottage. I can't even guilt them about coming to visit, about not seeing me lately because a plague intervened. So now they have the world's best excuse to ignore Steve. But I remember once they came to visit here, and Olive's hubby is a tech wonk. he's a major tech wonk. I thought it would be fun while we're just chewing the fat out in the living room. I thought it'd be fun to show him some of the tech that I have here and see what he makes of it, because some of it's a little old. Some of it, tech people love to get their hands on stuff like that and just sort of play around with it. And I remember that the first few pieces of tech that I brought out to show him, he was like, "Oh, this is interesting. Oh, look at this." And then as I kept bringing out more tech, I sensed a shift in the zeitgeist. I sensed almost the shift to, okay, why do you have all these things? And that has only gotten worse as time has gone on. That has only gotten worse. And I realized that that's a bit of a problem. But I love exploring this kind of stuff. And one of the main reasons that I do, once upon a time, I would have avoided it like the plague. But using I know a lot of you aren't going to be fans of Apple products, but using Apple products for 10 years, 10 solid years of using a MacBook Pro, a MacBook Air, and an iPad, the old iPad 2. 10 solid years of doing that gave me an enormous amount of tech confidence that I did not have before. An enormous amount of it. Because Apple products, these things are made to be understood by a non-technological user. Which was the reason for scorn about them on the part of many tech people that I've known over the last 2 decades. Many tech people that I've known have scorned Apple products because you can't fiddle around with them, because you can't strip it down and remake it, because it's so proprietary, because it's so user-friendly for a certain kind of user, for a non-tech user. But for me, it was a godsend. I absolutely love the fact that I could figure things out on an iPad or on a MacBook Pro or on a MacBook Air. And over the course of 10 years of doing that, of figuring things out, of figuring out workarounds on my own, that's all you really need for your confidence just across the board to grow. And it did. So that now, if I get a new piece of technology that isn't an Apple product, I feel like I can feel my way around and maybe troubleshoot and maybe understand a lot of the troubleshooting videos online that I wouldn't have understood before. And that's not going to matter here in this case, because this is an iPad. It's going to work perfectly fine. I hope. It's a third-party seller, so it's not refurbished from Apple, so I don't have anywhere to go. I don't have any recourse if it doesn't work really well. The only recourse that I would have is that sellers on sites like eBay, some of them, most of them, are really eager to avoid a negative response, because you can see it right there, and it means a lot on a site like that. Unlike on Amazon, for instance, it means a lot, a negative response. They're eager to avoid that, so that if they send you a lemon or if they've lied about something, they will ordinarily jump over themselves to make it right. So I have not turned this on. I don't know if it has any power. Actually, let's try, as long as you're here. Let's turn it on to see if it has any power. Look at that. It does. It does. It has power. So it's going to turn on. We'll see what the percentage is. But this isn't quite so much that. this doesn't require that I gain any tech knowledge because Apple products are made to be used. They're made to cause no tech problems. Although the more you know, the more you can fiddle around with them, and that's a lot of fun. Not only on Apple products, but on all products. I got a Kindle Fire, my bright red Kindle Fire, which is an Amazon slaved product, and it turns out that online there were a number of fairly easy tutorials for how to install the Google Play Store on the Kindle Fire, which increases its usefulness as a machine by 100-fold, and allows me to work on Google Docs. Oh, look at that. Oh, I'm going to play with this quite a bit today. Oh, it went dark. Do we not have power? Do we not have power? No, we do. We do. Hello. Okay. It's at 63% power. Can you make that out? It's at 63% power. So that's great. I will plug this in and charge it to 100%. And when I get new tech in the mail, what I tend to do is employ a very strict business before pleasure. Very strict. So I now have a toy that I know is going to want to suck down a few hours. So what I'm going to do is charge it. I plug it in. I'll charge it to 100%. I will do my best to forget about it. And I will get the day's work done before I play around with it. So that all of that, I'll get the business done first before I get the pleasure done, which is the way it should be in all cases. But a way in which my slightly greater degree of tech confidence has manifested itself is, ironically enough, despite the fact that it was a gift of Apple products, a way that it has manifested itself is in me realizing that I don't need Apple products. They are wonderful. They are user friendly, but they are over engineered for what I need. I don't need gaming. I don't need video editing. I don't need anything, music or anything like that. I don't need anything like that. I use my computer as basically a word processor with email. Perfectly fine if I can surf the web, but I can do that on my phone. So I don't need a computer to do that. And that has led me to Chromebooks. It's led me away from Apple products and to Chromebooks. And that is a lot of fun because once you're in the Chromebook ecosystem, then I have a perfect excuse to look around at new technology, because once you're into Chromebooks, well, then what Chromebook do you use? Where it's all about, if all I'm using it for is typing, then I want to find the ultimate typing experience on a Chromebook. And the ultimate configuration. Do I want something that's really thick and heavy and durable, something made for the education market, like a couple of the Chromebooks that I have? Or do I want something bigger with maybe brushed aluminum that's meant to look like an Apple product? And I don't know. I don't know what I want. Fortunately, Chromebooks are so cheap that I can experiment once in a while. If I get an unexpected commission check, I can spend half of it on a Chromebook that I have researched and that has struck my fancy as something that might be the one I want to stick with. I might just do that. But anyway. So that is your mail. So we got The Last Assassin. So ancient Roman history, right up Steve's alley. Then we got Piranesi, a novel by the novelist for Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. That's also a big winner of a thing. I'm looking forward to it. And this advanced copy, it's got a matte finish cover and gold gilt and the French flaps. It's lovely on its own. And The Subject of Crusade, a duplicate that I would like to send to Jason Harrigan. I'd like to send it out there to that massive Crusade library. The thing's almost alone in my own library. It has a place, it has a home in his library. But then again, do we have a date on this thing? Not a date, but rather, I think this is the finished copy. This has color plates in it and no publisher information. I bet this is just going to be a trade paperback. So maybe I could send it to him. I'll look into it. And also, in addition to the books, an iPad Mini, my very first iPad Mini. Which you got to know, if I get it working and if I like the mechanics of it, I'm going to load it with books. I'm going to load it with books. Because you people have been so generous in sending me ebooks. EPUB ebooks. So generous. So incredibly generous. And the EPUB ebooks, I can upload either to my Nook app, my Barnes & Noble Nook app, which takes them just fine, or I can upload them to the iBooks function that is native to Apple technology, to iPads. EPUBs upload automatically to both of those. My next step, in addition to getting tons and tons of EPUBs it's so nice of all of you to be sending me these things. I only want more. Since they're not costing you anything, I only want more. I want all the history in the world, all the classics in the world, all the science fiction in the world, all the murder mysteries in the world, all the romances in the world. I want all of it. But in addition to getting bombarded with all of those great ebooks, which is so much fun, to have a library. I'm building a library, an enormous library, which is, I have one of printed books, and it's a great feeling. In addition to that, my next step with that library in my Nook app and in my iBooks app will be Calibre. It will be the app where where I convert all of that to Mobi, to Amazon files, so that I can export it to Amazon, so that I can have this entire library of ebooks in a number of different places, honeycombed away from each other, so that if one disappears, I still have it. That is the goal, is to make this as impregnable to technological mishap as possible. And that's my next step. Right now, I'm concentrating just on building that library, because that app, that site, Calibre or Caliber, however you pronounce it, will be there. And it will work for converting a library. So now my goal, rather than wrestle with this thing right away, my goal is to build the library first, and then I'll worry about it later. I'll worry about where it is later. I want it ideally in all three of those places. The Kindle app, the iBooks app, and the Nook app. I want it ideally in all three of those places, plus Calibre. So we shall see. There is my mail haul. Lots and lots of fun. I'm gonna control myself. I'm gonna control myself. The iPad mini is going in a charging dock, and it's going to stay there until very much later today. I have lots of other stuff to do, so I'll wrap this up for now. More mail tomorrow, I hope. That would be great. I'll see you then. We'll find out together. Thank you, BookTube.